This video is requested by one of my brilliant subs. Everybody gets one from me this year, it seems. Did one for my best friend, her sister, Sug, kinda, and now my best friend again. It's honestly pretty cool to think that most of my active subs have gotten a dedicated video from yours truly. Anywho, today marks the 2.5-year anniversary of me and my best friend starting our work on Built on Ashes, a 2-part epic that takes the core of RWBY's world and characters, adds in some new ones, and makes what I'd consider to be a very solid story, if I had to sell it as shortly as possible. Fortunately, I don't, and today I'm going to give a few good reasons why it's lit. Both so I can spur my co-authors into pulling the anchors out of their ass, but mostly so that I can share what 3 years of off and on work has led to. So let's take it from the top. Part 1. The elevator pitch, aka the part the fandom will piss their pants over. So basically, Adam is the biggest giga Chad on Remnant. Meanwhile, Blake is the problem that solves itself by never getting any pussy and dies alone, hung by her own bow. There, story's over for most of the fans. I know, fucking praise me, that was just so great. No, but before I dive in, I feel there's 2 big things I need to clarify about this story before I start, just so I can avoid any questions from people wondering how it lines up with the canon. I know that literally doesn't matter in the slightest when dealing with fanfiction of any kind, but I've dealt with RWBY's idiots long enough to know that if I'm not crystal fucking clear on this, then I'll have some smartass playing the card of, oh well, this doesn't line up with X or Y that were only recently established in the latest tweet from the voice actor for the shopkeeper. So let me get those 2 things out right now. 1. Oscar, Oz, Salem, the Maidens, the Relics, their magic, and all that MacGuffin bullshit from Volume 4 and onwards, it just does not exist here. They all got what they fucking deserve. Semblance and dust still exist as the means of supernatural abilities like speed, and elemental materials like uranium, but other than those 2, there's no magical bullshit to make everything a convoluted mess of terrible ideas. 2. The primary focus for this is on factions, their core members, their ideological stances, and the futures they carve out for their followers and families. There are of course some characters and settings from the series, but these are all ideas crafted by us for this specific story to inspire ourselves and our audience to broaden the perspective beyond the elementary levels of good versus evil. So if all that is just a bit too much for your pea-brain, then I'd suggest looking up some written lesbian porn of 2 mannequins that the fans claim are 2 of the main characters. There, that enough prelude? Sweet. Now on to the summary, and only at roughly 3 minutes into the video. Act 1. The Hazing. In all seriousness, the story really begins in the continent of Sanus, far from the Kingdom of Vale, and its failure of Mountain Glen, set a handful of weeks before the Black Trailer, where Adam is running the newest batch of recruitment through a hazing process to prepare his branch of the White Fang for armed combat. The mission goes wrong when a small Grim horde, likely forming a nearby nest, intercepts the rookies, forcing him to personally assist in their retreat. Fortunately enough for the newest batch, one member turned the tide alone through teamwork, determination, and her skill sets, ultimately allowing Gaia to turn the Grim Nest into a Gore Nest. This, combined with her good friend in the infirmary, Tara, helped spread the news of such a capable fighter in Adam's ranks, the second in a matter of weeks. The timing couldn't have been better. Later, Gaia would be personally congratulated, as well as questioned by Adam, while being patched up from the battle. Though due to Gaia's head sustaining slight trauma, things were cut short when Tara interjected that she needed her rest. Adam didn't even have time to fume over this, since moments later the camp was greeted by a crack whore and her 2 high school dropouts. Adam was doubly annoyed by the fact that they were humans, asking if he had any dealers in the camp. He of course demanded they leave on sight, but their leader wouldn't stop talking about how she came up with a brilliant idea that'd benefit both of them. Adam refused to listen, and was saved by yet another anomaly within the camp, Blake trespassing on Adam's personal tent in nothing but white lingerie. His patience was running thin already, so he sent Blake to sanitation duty for the night. His unwanted guest took note of how awkward this was, and agreed to think about their idea a tad longer. Now with a sliver of peace, Adam laid out his plans for the SDC shipment that he'd be raiding the next day. Weeks later, cue the Black Trailer, where Blake decides to throw a temper tantrum, resulting in Adam's half of the train being separated from the rest. Fortunately, he not only had some peace from her bullshit at last, but he also no longer had the spider tank to deal with, so he just shrugged at Blake's incompetence and collected all the dust for himself. Upon returning to camp with one less problem, Adam prepared for the replacement trials. He had 3 members in mind before winding down that night. Banesaw for simplicity's sake, Felicity Gating, a member sent from the Mantle Division of the Fang who provided the intel of the train he just raided, and Gaia for her ferocity with the enemies. Word spread like wildfire, and Tara once again informed Gaia of an opportunity to get close with the commanding officer for a better position than a lowly grunt. Gaia jumped at the opportunity, and would balance her friendship with the medic as best she could with the new position in life she strived for since joining the Fang. She may not have been there long, but Gaia was determined, and a little bit attracted to her commanding officer. In the coming weeks, the competition for who would replace Blake narrowed down to just Gaia and Felicity. Both impressed Adam and had one thing Banesaw lacked, their own critical thinking skills. Unfortunately, they'd have to tolerate the crack whore and her misfits returning with briefcases filled with dust. It appears they were not only desperate for some good stuff, but they also had big plans to overthrow the government in Vale. Adam was willing to listen this time around because of his own plans of overthrowing the kingdoms. Ultimately, so he could create one specifically fit for the Faunus, the master race of Remnant. A deal was struck between the terrorist and the junkie, one where Adam would deliver the manpower and the army to sow chaos in Vale, to distract the kingdom's security before focusing in on the school. Adam kept the deal off the records mostly so he could take all the credit for himself, but also to keep Sienna in the dark on dealing with humans in any capacity. The thought alone made his skin crawl. The only record that would come to HQ would be about Blake being designated as MIA, all while the competition between Felicity and Gaia heated to a boiling point, with Gaia assuming Felicity had a similar attraction to Adam as her. Jealousy drove her to confront the Panther after a failed attempt at a raid on the docks. There, Felicity told Gaia that she had no personal interest in Adam, only a desire to be the second in command for the kingdom Adam wishes to create. She too wanted a proper promised land for the Faunus, and was devoted to it more than just to Adam. This calmed Gaia just enough so that she could focus on the quest for the position. In the end, Adam would give the position to Gaia for her devotion to Adam's idea of a full-on commitment to monarchy that for now was just rumored among the high-ranking officials in the Fang. Gaia gleefully accepted, as did Felicity. Tara cheered for her friend on the sidelines. Despite this, neither would cede an inch in their commitments to the Fang. Gaia most of all, now that she was around Adam much more than before. Adam started making plans for overthrowing Sienna's leadership and taking over the White Fang himself, just in case it ever came to that. Early plans for the kingdom that would eventually become Asahi are formed. At this point, Adam still thinks he can manage to convince Sienna to step down on her own and support his plans. Gaia does her best to reassure him that she'd do it if she truly valued the Faunus gaining proper equality. Mountain Glen. While the Beacon Brats attended school and disrupted the White Fang's work with Cinder, Adam was suggested to move his entire camp into the deserted city of Mountain Glen by Cinder. Adam, quite rightfully, told her that was completely retarded to do, when Atlas was in the city and could easily spot them all via thermal reconnaissance.
Get fucked!
Cinder, determined it's not that stupid of an idea, proposed that just a few squads under Banesaw were to meet her and her new partner in this operation. Adam allowed this, but focused the majority of his forces on securing more Atlas mechs for them to use in the impending fall they were preparing. He saw little use in debating further when time was wasting. When word got out that they were using his men for a suicide mission to breach the bulkheads separating the two cities, Adam was furious and prepared to exit Cinder's operation. The risk seemed ill-suited for his goals to convert one of the 4 kingdoms. Gaia agreed, and allowed Adam the room to vent his frustrations towards Cindy. He'd later leave to discuss just what happened right as Atlas finished the cleanup process. He demanded to know what was up after hearing what was left of his squad sent into the city were as good as dead. Cinder casually explained it was all part of the plan, and that now her collection of other criminals and anarchists would be under his command upon her signal to start the fall, with them on the front lines instead of the White Fang. Adam was furious that he was still being led around without a clear picture of what Cinder's plan to overthrow Vale was, so he approached her and instilled that the alliance would be over if there were any more goal shifts coming from her. Cinder slyly asked, "And what authority do you have to make such a decision?" Adam only replied, "If they value the future they're fighting for, they'll choose the strategist over the strumpet."
Get fucked!
Cinder, after receiving a proper roast, stormed off the scene, allowing Adam to talk with Emerald, Merc, and Neo. There he laid out what he expected from them in the coming months separating the breach from the start of the Vital Festival. Cinder may have chosen that date to cause the most chaos in front of the most people, but Adam saw it as a prime opportunity to inspire more Faunus into joining the Fang in its cause. So he resumed the management of his army, now with plenty of human servants underneath him, all working towards making this 5th of November one that shall never be forgot. I wrote this on the 5th of November, so I just had to include that little line, because timing was just perfect. Adam returned to the camp to create a small gravesite for those lost in the breach. Later that night, Banesaw would return as the sole survivor of that shit show, but the gravesite still remained. Afterwards, he informed Gaia that they'd narrow it down to just 2 more raids for Atlas mechs. They'd have plenty of cattle to use as a shield. In the coming months, Gaia would grow closer with her leader on a more personal level. She'd proven herself to be loyal, supportive, and worthy to be more than just the second-in-command / apprentice. And that's where the cliffhanger comes in. Next time on the completely accurate summary. Oh yeah, you're not going to want to miss this. See you then. And if you're curious as to why I'm having to cut this so shortly compared to the rest of my videos and why I'm not putting as much more content in, well, I gotta get this out by a certain day because today happens to be a certain someone's birthday. And this is just one of my many gifts to her this year. And here is another one to end the video on. Happy birthday, Kara. I'll talk to y'all later.
Happy birthday, may your sky stay blue. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, boss.